Hey Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Corey.
And I'm Matt, and each week this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, rev our engines, or just need a bit more conversation.
I'm almost speechless about this week's episode.
Yes.
From the moment it was brought to us,
Yes.
I knew this episode had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been looking forward to it ever since. And there's just so much that went into this one. So I'll quit beating around the bush. This week we had the joy, the pleasure, the opportunity to interview a couple of Rebelle Rally participants.
Finishers.
From the 2021 Rebelle Rally, and in Mason Converse and Aaron Mason. So they are sisters-in-law.
Yeah.
And they were a driver-navigator team and brought along the first ever four-legged Rebelle participant in Mason's service dog, Sammy.
Yeah.
And they are both veterans. And was one of the reasons why they were selected for the Mitsubishi team for this year's Rebelle Rally.
Yeah.
Aaron served as a aircraft mechanic, and Mason served as a medic in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And Matt, you and I have a mutual friend, listener to this podcast, a big supporter of ours, who is also a medic in Afghanistan, who was wounded in service. And when all the details were brought to me, I knew exactly that this had to happen.
Yeah.
I am incredibly grateful. Sue Mead, a former guest of our podcast, great friend of the channel. We love catching up with her. We saw her a couple of weeks ago, and she brought us this opportunity to interview Team Mitsubishi and just get to talk not only about their Rebelle experience, but their service experience and how those things mesh, because they were actually part of the team organized by, make sure I've got this in front of me right here. They were representing an organization called Record the Journey, which is a military veterans charity dedicated to helping service members successfully transition back to civilian life and advocate for PTSD awareness. All that to say, I'm losing it a little right now. I held it together a little bit during the interview, but it's definitely one of the heavier ones that we've done.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with a topic that needs to be addressed and addressed more in PTSD. So I can't say it enough how grateful we are to both of them for their service, what they've done, and then furthering this message through basically their journey this year on the Rebelle.
Yeah.
So why don't we, again, quit beating around the bush and just jump into our episode, our conversation with Mason and Aaron from Team Mitsubishi in the 2021 Rebelle Rally. All right, Gearhead. So we are with Mason Converse and Aaron Mason from the Mitsubishi Rebelle Rally team. And it is just a blast to sit down and talk to y'all tonight.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, so first things first, let's get out of the way exactly what the Rebelle is. And I'll throw this out there. It's not a race, first and foremost, correct? So would one of y'all want to jump on and just kind of give a brief summary for our listeners who may not be as familiar with what the Rebelle is? Aaron, you've been volunteered.
So the Rebelle Rally is an all-women's only rally in the U.S. It's 8 days long. It went 2,000 plus kilometers, and we started. Normally, it starts in Tahoe, but this year we started at the Hoover Dam in Vegas, and ended in Glamis, California.
Oh man!
And yeah, and it's camp on your own. They provide food. That's about all that you can count on the situation for. But it is, you set up your tent at night, you pack it up in the morning, you are in your car on the line 15 minutes from start, and you have to find checkpoints, and you're only navigating by map and compass. And so it tests your skill set, it tests your vehicle, and it tests your partner, because it's only a driver and navigator team. So that's why they say it's not a race for speed, but for points throughout to get either your checkpoints, getting back to base camp on time. Everything is a factor.
Okay. So your team is comprised of the two of y'all. Which one was driver? Which one was navigator?
I was navigator, and my sister-in-law was the driver.
Okay. And y'all had a special companion with you, did you not?
We did. I actually have a service dog. I have a 3-year-old all-black German Shepherd. Her name is Sammy, and she competed with us. So she was the first ever service dog to compete in the Rebelle, and probably did way better than Aaron and I did.
That's awesome.
So we'll kind of get into that just in a little bit, but speaking specifically about the Rebelle and y'all's experience, you were Team Mitsubishi, correct?
We are.
And your vehicle of choice was a 2022 Mitsubishi Outlander. What all can you tell us about that rig?
Oh man, the Outlander was incredible. Actually, the capability and the size were exactly what we needed. I think in the beginning, Aaron and I really thought we were ready to compete in the 4x4 class. Typically, we drive Jeeps back at home, so we're used to that. So we spent a lot of time this year learning how to compete in the Outlander and learning how to drive an SUV, very much so almost a car in the off-road world. So I can't say enough good things about the Outlander. It was super comfortable and an incredible vehicle to drive. We had to do very little modifications from the stock vehicle to make it capable. We put a wheels and tires package on it, and we put skid plates on it to protect the undercarriage through some of the terrain we were going in. But overall, such an incredible car to take off-road, and a head turner. Everywhere we went, people were like, that's an Outlander? That's an Outlander? That's going off-road? And surprised us more times than I can count. There was a lot of times that we assumed the car wasn't capable of something, and we put it to the test, and it was, and it proved us wrong. So really, really incredible to see coming from full-size 4x4 vehicles.
Right.
You know, it felt like a minivan. In all honesty, it felt like we were driving a minivan, and that was so cool because we had so much more space than a lot of the other teams had. And we had a lot more luxurious vehicle than a lot of the other teams had. So that was also really cool and special because we had the dog with us.
Oh, yeah. Air conditioning and everything, right?
Oh, my goodness. Everyone would ask, how'd Sammy do off-road? How'd Sammy do in the car today? And I'm like, you guys have no idea. She's used to being in an open-top Jeep, and she's got 2 AC vents and a really comfy seat back there.
Spoiled.
So, yeah, we really felt spoiled through the Rebelle. Let's be honest. The first time we looked at the car and the leather interior and cross stitching, we're like, you guys really want us to take this off road and get it? Are you sure?
You know what you're signing up for, right?
Yeah. Very cool. Did you find many or any of the limitations of the vehicle? I mean, were there things that it just wouldn't do, or did it cover everything that you asked it to do?
The only thing that we asked it to do that it wouldn't is just really steep inclines. Okay. And mainly because we couldn't get enough power starting from the bottom. Most of the time we didn't have a big enough runway to come up and get enough power from the bottom. You only had a very short, starting point, I guess. So maybe had we been able to back up a little bit more and had a smooth terrain to go up that steep incline, it wouldn't have been an issue. But to crawl up at slow speeds, that was really the hard part for that vehicle, was kind of crawling at slow speeds. And it's not meant to be a rock crawler. Right. So I can't fault it for that.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
How much
Or when we were in the dunes also, it's actually like a little too smart, because you're wanting to drive it in the sand, or you're wanting to, go up a dune. And the car will it would just say no. Like,
yeah, we had to navigate some sensor issues, and we made some really good friends on the Porsche team as well. And we learned that we weren't the only ones with that struggle. That basically you kind of had to out trick your car a little bit and let it not know how deep a sand you were in. And if you did get in deep sand, then you really had to dig that tire out and tell the car, hey, we're okay. And as soon as that happened, it was like all the sensors would come back on and you had no issue.
Wow, that's crazy.
So how much time ahead of the official start did y'all have with either your Outlander or an Outlander just to get familiar?
A week,
Okay.
I think.
Wow.
with our first car.
Yeah, we practiced several times in Glamis in our own vehicles. And then I would say a week to 10 days before the starting line, we all showed up in Glamis, or all showed up in LA, picked up the Mitsubishi and drove it to Glamis, and we spent 3 days there. We had a little bit crazy issue with sand in the parking brake, so we went back to the garage after a couple days and worked through those issues. But I think we got 2 days in the car. Even though we had it for a week, we got 2 days in Glamis in the car before we took off.
Oh, man.
Your brother just said 5 days.
In the car?
It was 5 days in the car.
Oh.
Like, it was like that whole 7 day prior to Rebelle that we were having difficulties with the first car, which was like 5 days prior to start date. And then the second vehicle came, 2 days before.
Good grief.
Yeah, we were impressed that we made it to the start line. Like, so many women were like, oh, your car is awesome. Like, you know, you guys made it. And we're like, no, we really made it. Like, you don't know.
So tell us a little bit about your histories and your backgrounds. You mentioned a little bit y'all drive Jeeps and are familiar with like full-on 4x4s, but what are some... What got you to the Rebelle? Like, how did this come about for each of y'all, I should say?
I guess I'll start with this one. My husband and I have been off-roading in Jeeps since I got out of the military. We played around a little bit while I was in, but really I would say like 2013, 2014, we moved to Las Vegas, started off-roading around in that area. We have a history in motocross racing and then ended up getting hurt a lot and having kids. So we decided, hey, let's do something safer.
Yeah.
Safer, right?
There's a cage around you at least.
Yeah, basically that's what got us into Jeeping, was like motocross is a little too dangerous at this point. Plus we have kids that we want to take on that adventure with us. So we'd owned Jeeps before, but really just kind of done the dirt road, off-road lifestyle. And started getting pretty serious when we moved to Vegas because we met lots of people who were doing rock crawling, and we saw the events like the Mint and learned about Baja and kind of learned about this desert off-road racing lifestyle. Started going to Sand Hollow in Utah and kind of figured out about dunes and different stuff like that. So I would say for us, it started then. He and I have just kind of been bebopping around the U.S., living in different places and off-roading as much as we can. We went to King of the Hammers for a couple years, and I'd say mine and Erin's true off-roading started at King of the Hammers. She went with me in 2019, I believe, and Chuck was supposed to go. My husband was supposed to go with me, and he ended up having an issue with his vehicle, so he stayed home and let the ladies go, which little did they know what kind of ball that would start rolling. We have two very, very politely jealous husbands, yes. But they say that we're getting to achieve a lot of the things they've been dreaming about for a while. So anyways, we went to King of the Hammers, and she and I spent 8 days in the back of my Jeep together. We slept in a JK and just did King of the Hammers the way you should, and really, really enjoyed it. And I introduced her to several of the off-road women and women's groups that I knew there. And I think that was the first time that I told her about the Rebelle. You know, you got 10 days worth of talking to do. So I told her that I learned about the Rebelle and told her about the hefty price tag that went along with it. And we both pretty much decided it was a dream. Okay. And that's where it went. So fast forward to 2020, late 2020, I moved to Texas to live with my brother and sister-in-law, Erin. We lived with him all through COVID. Well, it's still COVID, I guess you could say, but we lived with them for like a year. And so
when it got real,
yeah,
they came south.
And shortly after we got there, I was tagged on Facebook by a good friend of mine, Eric Falar. He works for Motive Gear and really well known in the off-road industry, just such a super stellar dude. But Eric tagged me in a post from a lady named Rachel who was looking for female disabled veterans. And that was the only caveat, to compete with her in the Rebelle. And so she had opened up, that was like September 20.
It was a month before
the Rebelle last year. So I was so excited. I read the tag and I go tell Aaron and I'm like, yo, we're applying for this. This is it. This is our shot. A little bit of backstory. Rachel, I call her our team manager for lack of better words, but Rachel's the one who got us into it, and she's the one who was looking for these applicants. She started the nonprofit organization called Record the Journey.
Okay. And
Record the Journey is a nonprofit that supports veterans after transition. Once they get out of the military, she helps their family members and the veterans through that transition point, through photography and through some other things. So
awesome.
For the last couple of years, she's been sponsoring a female disabled veteran to go to the Rebelle with her as her partner. Well, Aaron and I didn't totally read the application, full disclosure.
We were too excited.
We were so excited, and we applied immediately. And in the application, we said, "Hey, we're sisters. We both off road. We did it up." And we ended up getting a Zoom interview with her. She calls and says, "Hey, you guys kind of made it to the final." And we spent about an hour with her. And funny story about that is, Aaron booked her interview before mine in the morning. And I planned to book mine in the afternoon so we could kind of talk about it and see like what she asked and like give our best chances, right? Well, we ended up booking them back to back, like 10 to 11 and 11 to 12 or something like that. So we didn't even have time to speak to each other, even though we were in the same house. We literally just logged off, logged on. It was crazy. And so after 2 hours of us both talking to Rachel, we finally get to go back in the same room and talk. And we're just like, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So what came out of that conversation was that Rachel loved us both and she would love for us to compete on her team. And she gave us two choices. She said that one of us could compete last year, or we could both wait and withdraw our application, and we could compete together the following year. Obviously, that's what we chose to do. And it was the perfect solution for everybody, because the person that she ended up picking, her name is Christy, and Christy and Rachel were a phenomenal team. It was literally like they were meant to be. And not that Rachel or Aaron and I wouldn't have done well together, but Aaron and I were such the perfect team, and Christy and Rachel were such a perfect team. That's exactly how it should have happened. So
that's awesome.
The other benefit to that was we got a full year to train versus 30 days.
Sure.
Hey, hop in the seat and go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though we got a full year, it still felt like we got about 60 days. But it went by so fast.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And we learned so much even going.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So Erin, she dabbled a little bit in your history along her history. What kind of got you involved in this? Was it all just being pulled along for King of the Hammers?
They talked me into getting a Jeep when I lived in Florida. So that was 2014. So I've been, like really trying to enjoy the off-road no matter where I'm at. Like it was really like an eye-opener of like what this event was. And it wasn't even an event, it was a rally, but it's competitive, but it's all women. Like it was relationship building. Like it was just such an amazing thing that you can't recreate it, and you can't, when you get selected to do it, you're just kind of in awe. And that's how my perspective was of it because when I applied, I was more so trying to give Mace the pointers to like have her picked, like have her go. Like I was like, like at least with our powers combined. So for her to like both of us was amazing. And I feel like one of her main factors were that we lived together. And so we were able to create that bonding, that we're going to compete together. We're going to be a team. And when we learn together, like, your perception really changes when you are working with someone for such a long period of time. So it was a gift.
And Erin and her husband, my brother, have been off-roading with us quite a few times. We've done a couple trips to Moab, a couple to Sand Hollow, and they live in East Texas right now. So there's a few places around there.
Yes,
Barnwell.
Yes.
They've been off-roading a couple times in her Jeep.
And I'm originally from Southern California, so this was also like a chance to see. I grew up with kids going in the off-road. Like they'd go camping, they'd go to the desert for New Year's. Like they were breaking their collarbones on motorcycle, on dirt bikes. Like I grew up with that in Lake Elsinore. So to be able to get to see it in a different limelight was amazing, because it was kind of like the whole picture got to be put together of how where I'm from, also what I'm interested in, but also what my family now that we have created are starting to create together was just amazing.
Well, we can't say enough good things about Barnwell. That's like our go-to when we're testing off-road vehicles. We head on over to Barnwell. So great location. So yeah,
we've had fun. We went twice, I think. Yeah. During COVID, it was amazing.
Oh yeah, we even had a little time to beat up on my Subaru out there. So it's been,
nice.
We like Barnwell a lot.
So tell us a little bit about Sammy and your service dog and your background there. So
Sammy is a PTSD service dog. I was in the military for 13 years. I served as a medic, and I served in Afghanistan as a combat medic. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of really specific trauma that comes from that. So Sammy was actually a gift to us 3+ years ago. My husband had a dog that was getting ready to pass away, and Sammy was supposed to be my husband's replacement dog. And when she came into our lives, he wasn't quite ready and really had no interest in her yet. And we actually ended up getting her at 4 weeks old due to some complications with her mother. So we got her at 4 weeks old, and we're bottle feeding her for 4 more weeks. And in turn, she and I obviously created a really special bond. So Sammy and I started to get close. And this was about the same time that I got my confirmed disability from the VA. So we'd been kind of kicking around the idea of a service dog, but for anybody who's ever looked into it, getting a service dog through the VA is almost nearly impossible. And paying for a service dog through a private agency is almost nearly unaffordable. You're talking like anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 if you're wanting to buy a dog, and you're probably talking a 5+ year wait if you're looking for the VA to give you one. So we'd never had German Shepherds before. We'd only had pit bulls, and we kind of started exploring that breed and started exploring what our options were as I was navigating this newly diagnosed disability. And it just seemed like the right thing to do. So we had a lot of people come into our lives that supported us in that way. And we've done almost all of Sammy's training ourselves, which has been really, really profitable. There's a lot of good information on the internet and a lot of people who've reached out to us to help. But she's a fully trained, certified PTSD service dog, and she's pretty rad.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So when y'all's story was passed along to us, it definitely hit home, and hearing you talk about it hits even closer to home because Matt and I have a mutual friend that was an Army medic in Afghanistan who was wounded in action and now lives in Tampa, Florida. So shout out. Hey, Andy, how's it going? I know he listens quite regularly. So just...
up, Andy.
We absolutely knew as soon as I was talking with Sue Mead that, yes, we wanted to talk to you. We wanted to share your story. Yeah. Not only your awesome adventure at the Rebelle this year, but just getting to know you as people a little bit more and a little bit deeper, and hearing your story and how you got here. So,
well, what I can tell you a little bit along those lines is I've shared this with Mitsubishi already, and honestly, what's today, Monday? Right. I'd say it took me until Friday, a week after we crossed the finish line, to kind of get back to normal. And I don't think that that's solely like a military PTSD thing, because I've heard from lots of rebels that there very much is a come down time. There's a re-entry process. You've been alone and on your own for the most part for 10 days. Like, it's a huge thing for a lot of us to come back and kind of reintegrate in the community. What I expected was that would be so much more normal for me as a military person who's been in and out, and I say goodbye a lot and I leave a lot. And I also expected that I wouldn't really have any issues at the Rebelle other than typical Rebelle issues.
Right.
What happened was day one, I got slapped really, really hard in the face with some PTSD flashbacks that I had no idea were coming. Looking back in it now, we were in a tent in the desert. We're all wearing the same thing. We're all eating out of the same tent. We're all doing the same thing. We're all getting bossed around by the same person. There's so many military semblances that I really should have foreshadowed and kind of mentally prepared myself for, but neither here nor there. Day one in that tent, what I can tell you is if that dog wasn't there, I would have went home. Yeah. And what I can also tell you is if she wasn't there, I probably wouldn't have even went. But had I convinced myself to go, I would have had to go home. The first 2 days were incredibly hard. I had such bad anxiety, such bad flashbacks walking into those tents that I couldn't control myself. I cried. We were there for 9 days. I probably cried every day out of those 9 days. And in the last 2 years, I've cried maybe 2 times. So such an incredible, powerful thing that even I underestimated, if that makes sense. You know, I underestimated the power of my own service animal, and I underestimated the things that I would even be suffering through while I was there.
Wow.
Well, I'll speak for both of us on this. We want to wholeheartedly thank you for your service to the country and just helping get the word out through your experiences and your interaction with Record the Journey and things like that, that maybe people don't exactly know what they're dealing with, but hearing other stories can help them reconcile and take the steps they need to get the help that they need. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's been one of mine and Aaron's, light at the end of the tunnel is we very much advocate for PTSD awareness and just transition awareness and the things that military veterans go through. And as hard as it is for me to be open and share my story, I do know that helps. And I do know that somebody else may recognize something because of that. So that's a huge part of what kept me going, I think. And I know a huge part of what kept Aaron going as well.
And it takes a long time after when you transition. It's not just, you give yourself a month or a year. It could be up to 10 years. Like it is like it is a constantly transition process that all veterans are going through, and they're all different. We've all had different jobs, all different experiences. And the main thing that keeps us together was that camaraderie bonding that we had while we were there. And one day you just don't have it. So you are constantly trying to figure out this new life because the real world doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of veterans get out and they want nothing to do with the military. I know I did. I was like, I don't need military friends. I want to get as far away from this as I can. And, I'd say maybe I spent like a year and a half like that. And then every time I hung out with a veteran person after that, it was like, these are my people. This is where I need to be. Why am I running away from this? And in that is kind of where I really realized what was real and what was normal. And I got out in 2014, and it wasn't until 2017, early 2018 that I got diagnosed with VA disability. Yeah. So I really got out thinking, hey, everything's hunky-dory. There is nothing wrong with me. I'm going to go on about my normal life. Yeah. And a couple years later, you start getting hit with some things.
Definitely appreciate your service and appreciate you sharing your story and joining us. And it's crazy to me. It never ceases to amaze me, the stories that we come across. Corey and I started this podcast as an opportunity to share stories about cars because our wives were tired of hearing about it. And, and now we get to to share stories with incredible people all across the nation, all across the world. And it's all car related, but it's so much deeper than that. It's so much broader and so much more fun than that too. And I've got goosebumps. This has been an incredible conversation.
So we'll lighten it up a little. It looked like Sammy made a little guest appearance there.
She definitely notices when I start getting a little anxious, and she feels it. So she came running.
Yeah. So just an awesome time conversing with y'all and talking a little bit of history. Is there anything that stood out to y'all? I know you said the Outlander did exceptionally well for y'all, but is there anything that really stood out? Like, this is going to be the memory from the 2021 Rebelle Rally for me.
Did you hear about the windstorm?
Oh, no.
I hadn't.
So, we came into base camp. Actually, we knew day 3, day 4, I can't exactly remember, that there was going to be heavy high winds, like 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. And they said they were going to kick in about noon. They wanted us to try to get as much of our day done as we could, and then just be aware, either have our sat phones, and just be aware of the weather, be ready for new instructions, all of those things.
She said bring your sleeping bag in case you had the shelter in place.
Yeah.
They tell us that. And they forewarned us that people may be sheltering in place not at our base camp. You may be sheltering in place in your car 100 miles away from where you are.
Oh,
so that day, definitely a huge memory. Aaron and I hadn't had a shower at that point. So our goal that day, before we all knew about the weather, was that we wanted to get back to base camp as soon as we can, kind of get ahead of the shower line and just have a good day. So
because we've had a lot of learning days before this, like we were learning Sam, our vehicle, myself as a new mom, like there was a lot going on in our vehicle.
Yeah.
We'd had a rough couple days before, and we were like, all right, this is going to be a good day. We're going to get back to base camp on time or as soon as we can, because they won't let you go back so early. You have a time limit before you can check in. But most of the days before, we'd been getting back at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then you still have to get in line for fuel. You still have to find your food. You still have to set up your camp. And we're not going to bed till 10, 11, 12. And we're waking up at 5 a.m. So this day, windstorm day, we decide we're getting back early. We're going to get a shower. We're going to go to bed early. Like we're just going to do this right. Well, windstorm kicks in. And it was about the time we decided we were heading back. One of the staff members stops us and says, hold up, you guys can't go back. After a little bit of discussion on the radio, they say,
base camp is in shambles.
I'll
never forget that.
Yeah, base camp is in shambles.
Shambles.
They said, this is your competition. Proceed as you see fit. I think were the exact words. Something along the lines. Like, we're not going to tell you can't go, but we're also not going to tell you to go there.
Right.
And we're like, all right, bye guys. We're going to base camp.
This is how we see fit.
Yeah.
And really what, Aaron, we were like maybe 5 miles down the road. All we had
zero visibility. Like it was zero viz. Like,
wow.
Like you can see the hood and nothing.
And we do have dash cam footage, so I'm interested to see what it looks like from that day. But
you were driving so slow with hazards. It was scary.
Get back on the highway. We drive maybe 5 miles down the highway, get off the highway again, and we're at base camp. It was to be no big deal. But like she said, yes, hazards, complete whiteouts. I mean, the whole 9 yards. And this is probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
So we make it there. And then when we get there, shambles was the exact word. Like all tents were collapsed. All tents had dirt over them, or they had some sort of gear over them that wouldn't rip the tent away. Our main big tent was being ripped down. Everybody that was in campers was folding up and putting away. The fuel truck was driving away because of static electricity. Everyone is on E when you come into base camp. So obviously there's a concern there. And you're talking about sleeping in your car.
Right.
So we ended up being first people back to base camp. Everyone was super excited we got there. And they told us to make a wind barrier with our vehicle around the tents. So our one vehicle, made this not efficient wind barrier. And we sat in the vehicle for maybe 30 minutes and just as shitty as it was, I would say that's one of my best memories because it was finally like her and I hanging out, just having fun again. Like there was no stress of the competition. It was like, wow, look at this show that's going on around us, you know? So we sat in the vehicle for a little while. We both had an adult beverage. And we're like, what do we do now? Nobody came for a long time. We were the first people there and the only people there. And then finally another team rolls up behind us. And I looked at Aaron and I was like, dude, let's go shower. Yep. He said, if you leave the vehicle, go in a pair. So as long as we walk in pairs to the shower trailer, we're good, right?
Yeah.
Obey the law.
And so it was probably one of the funniest things, and nobody got to see it, but she and I grabbed our camouflage backpacks, you know, stuff our stuff in there, and we peel out of the car and just run as fast as we can to this shower trailer. Take the most glorious shower ever because nobody else is there waiting in line. And she gets back to the car, and I'll never forget, on my way back to the car, I could tell she's looking at me, and I open the door and she goes, you look like $1 million. And I was like, I feel like $1 million. Now I'm ready to go. So we spent the rest of the evening in the car. We watched people battle their gear. We helped a few people take care of their tents before they got back and did some things. But overall, she and I just had a good time. Somebody brought homemade snickerdoodle cookies by to the car, and we had some adult drinks and went to sleep. And it was by far one of the best nights that we've had.
That's fantastic.
Sounds like a great adventure unto itself. So yeah,
it was highly unexpected.
Yeah, and they really do, like the whole, like the rally itself, like they really make you feel like a rebel. Like no matter if the world is falling apart, to get brought a cookie in the, you know, and it just like, it was beautiful. And it was one of the staff that was bringing them to every vehicle. You're still like, okay, like this is still a life experience. Like I'm still being treated good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I have to ask, how was your finish?
Oh, Aaron, tell them about Glamis Day. Our Glamis Day and our finish was amazing.
That was the best day we had. Like everything, all the training of this whole year. And we went to Glamis a couple times. So we were actually like kind of familiar with the area. And we teamed up because when you go in these dunes, you kind of want to team up with somebody because you could get lost, stuck. When you look over at dunes, you have no idea somebody could be down in there. So you really want to team up so someone can go on top of the dune, whichever the case. Our day was amazing. We teamed up with the Porsche team, Gabby and Beth. They were so awesome. Like we were like on the same page of like, okay, if we get some checkpoints, oh, you want to go for some blacks? Or it was like, we were like on the same page of how we're going to do this day. And they even, what was it? Porsche Cayenne?
Cayenne. Mm-hmm. They were driving the Cayenne.
We even got stuck. They even pulled us out. It was amazing to see a little Porsche pull out an SUV. And it was beautiful. It was the best day. And for everything.
I was going to say, I would even say the finish line on the last day is probably the only time that we really didn't want to cross because we'd had such a good day in Glamis. Every other day we were like, get us to the finish line now. Like
it's like explosions and things are happening. It was the finish day was the best day, and we were like, why can't the whole 7 days be like this? But that's why it's called Rebelle, because it doesn't, like, not all of it could be that way. Right. And that day, like crossing the finish line, it was wonderful. Like all the training, everything that we put into it, like tears, sweat, bringing Sammy, like it was just like the biggest smiles, and it was just like this whole image just finally came together, and it was the best thing to experience. And I can't wait to see the footage of it, of either our dash cam or whatever we were saying. Like we were just amazed, and especially when it comes like a week after, like when you on Friday, or was it Sunday yesterday? Whatever day it was, like you're just like, I can't believe it's already been a week. Like you think about that finish line moment and all that it took to get there, and you never know if you're going to experience it again. and having
it
all
went by too fast. Like that's the other thing I was thinking when it was over. Like as much as we were excited for it to be over, when it was about to be over, we wanted that part to slow down.
Yeah.
But then also, you're going to get your phone back so you can call your loved ones. So you kind of want it to speed up. It's just a weird, like a weird time warp of time.
Yeah.
And 100 other women are feeling the same thing. That was eye-opening, that 100 women in Glamis are feeling the exact same feeling. And that finish line, the stories, just that camaraderie that we actually, missed and never thought that we'd find it with a bunch of random women in this world was spectacular.
And I would definitely say the last day put it very vividly in my mind why people do it again. The whole week long, Aaron and I questioned our decision. We questioned if we wanted to do it again. But for us, we did well the last day. So it was like, oh, now I see why people want to do it again, because now you get that self-motivating factor and you're like, I know what I did wrong, or I know how I could do better. And so
you want to fight to fix those things.
Yeah. And it was almost sad that was our last day, because it was our best day. And we're like, but if we do this one more day, we can show you guys that we can do better.
If we had that day the first day,
it was just a weird feeling. Yeah. You want to be done, but you're like, no, I want to show you that now I know how to do this competition.
Let's redo it.
2022.
That's all, Rachel. That's for the journey. If she already has, we were two picked out of 30 something applicants. So really we know that Rachel invested a lot of time in our training and we have learned a lot. Mace is a instructor from the military, like when she was in her military service. So I know that Rachel has big plans for us. I don't know if 2022 is it of us either competing or teaching. We're down for whatever. Rachel is an amazing woman. She loves her Forerunner. Mm-hmm. She now she's wanting to soup up her minivan, and it's the RTJ vehicle. So she always has something up her sleeve.
That's awesome.
We've committed to helping her train the team that she chooses for the crossover class for next year. And there has been a little bit of talk about Aaron and I competing in the 4x4 class. I said no immediately, full disclosure, before the Rebelle was even over. I've said no, which has been difficult because I think that Aaron kind of wants to do it again, and I would love to be her teammate again. But for PTSD reasons, it was super difficult. And maybe that would be different for me if I did it again. I don't know. So I won't say that it's completely off the table, but I also have another event that happens at the same time called Trail Hero that happens in Utah in Sand Hollow. And they do a lot for veterans and disabled people and children and all kinds of things. And it's very family oriented. So my whole family was at that event while I was at the Rebelle. And so that's just kind of it's kind of a heartstrings pull for me about which one to choose. But I definitely support the Rebelle, and we are going to spend some time helping whoever Rachel picks for this year. I can totally see that.
Well, that is awesome. We are kind of backing up little time crunch here, so we're going to go on and shift gears a little bit to our final segment that Matt likes to call
Random Misfire. And there's 8 questions in here, and I'll say it again, Corey. Every engine should have 8 cylinders. That's why there's 8 questions. So we're going to split it up a little bit. So, Aaron, I'll ask you 4 questions. Corey, if you want to ask Mason 4 questions.
All right.
And these are simple, easy, fun, either or, yes or no kind of things. Nothing crazy, nothing, no heartstrings or anything like that. So we're
you don't need a 5-minute answer is what you're saying?
Yeah. This is just for quick little fun back and forth kind of a thing. A little miniature interview within the interview. Yes. So,
all right.
Corey, do you want to fire us off with the first one?
All right, let's see. I am going to go with, that would be a good one given what she has shared with us so far. So I'm going to go with it. What is your preference, as you have mentioned being a fan of both 2 wheels and 4 wheels?
Oh, definitely 4 wheels. I'm extremely clumsy and accident prone, and I think I spent more time upside down on my dirt bike than I actually did on 2 wheels. So
Oh, no.
way better on 4 wheels.
Well, there you go.
Awesome. All right, Aaron. So with the complications you had, and they were few, I understand completely, but with the technology being the hindrance in the process, are you a fan of more tech or less tech when it comes to your rigs?
Less tech.
Less tech, yes.
I'm actually currently pulling out everything I can out of my Jeep to be less tech because there's a short somewhere.
Ah, okay.
So Aaron is an aircraft mechanic, if you guys didn't catch that part of the story.
Oh, awesome.
Wow.
By trade.
Yeah, on fighter jets. So I don't know much about cars. I'm actually currently wanting to learn more because I am an airplane mechanic. So it's been exciting.
Yeah.
Well, that is awesome as well. So thank you.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Somehow we missed that part. So absolutely. Thank you. All right. So let's see. I'm going to go to my good old standby.
Oh, boy.
Mason, do you name your vehicles?
Do I name my vehicles? Yes, but we had a really hard time naming the Mitsubishi. But we have named all of our Jeeps.
Okay.
My husband's Jeep's name is Judy, a.k.a. Big Booty Judy, because it's a 1-ton axle swap on 42s. And then I call my Jeep Betty Boop. They're both red, Betty and Judy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a few along the way. But our Mitsubishi, we had a hard time naming that car. We named it the Situation for a little while because everything was a situation. And we kind of have a family mascot of Waldo, so we named it Waldo for a little while.
Okay.
She's had a few names.
Nice.
Because we didn't know where she was for a while.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Manual or automatic, Aaron? Which do you prefer?
Manual, and I've only owned one vehicle, so I'm just judging it by experience, I guess.
Okay.
All right. So this one kind of speaks to our interview for next week's episode. I'm foreshadowing a little bit. We've already told y'all who we're talking to next week, but Mason, internal combustion or EV?
I'm going to go with internal combustion. There's a lot of added EV things that you have to consider that I really don't like to take into account because I also like to do long off-road trips too. So not that it's not appropriate, but if you're looking at multiple days out and charging issues or that, lots of things. So combustion for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to steal Matt's thunder here, and I'll go ahead and share. I road tripped a Mustang Mach-E 1,200 miles across Texas and Oklahoma, and it may have taken twice as long as it should have.
It definitely took twice as long as it should have. Yeah.
So
I'm going to just go ahead and assume that was a one and only time thing also.
It was for our YouTube review channel, so I would say I would do it again to get the content, but
it's not going to be your daily driver.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know that I'm going to convince my wife to ride back with me on such a trip again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'll book the ticket, the flight.
Yeah.
I'll meet you there.
That's right. I'll see you there. All right. So both of you are huge Jeep fans. And if Ford can ever deliver the Bronco, I hope you have an opportunity to experience the Bronco. But if you had the choice today, both were sitting in your driveway, are you getting in a Bronco or are you getting in a Wrangler?
Bronco.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Those teams, we had 3 Bronco teams.
Really?
And those vehicles were killer.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the ladies that drove them were immaculate.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's exciting to know.
I'm a little shook.
Show you marketing pays off because that's a Jeep girl right there.
I know that's I had to compose myself. I did not expect not only that answer but so quickly.
Oh yeah.
So.
No, I was surprised at her answer.
Okay. Let's see here.
A week in a Mitsubishi and they still have secrets.
Yes. So that one's too easy. Okay. So end on a fun high note here for you, Mason. Favorite road trip snack?
Oh man, I'm a candy eater
Anything
through
sweet?
and through. So literally anything sweet. I like hard candy, Jolly Ranchers, all kinds of stuff like that. But literally, you put candy in front of not chocolate, but candy in front of my face, and I'm eating it.
All right.
Nice. Well, Aaron, we'll end off with a similar question, same but different. Favorite car movie?
Ooh.
The old Dukes of Hazzard.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, oh man, they can't recreate it. I don't like the recreated one.
No.
Completely agree. Yes.
Magic in a bottle, right? So, all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week at Talking All Things Rebelle, talking all things, just your personal journeys from being veterans. And just, again, thank you for your service. And just looking forward to sharing this story with our audience and our friends that we've accumulated over the years.
Well, thank you for having us on. We really appreciate it. And thank you for helping share our message.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm good. Are you good?
Was it? Barely. Yeah, we made it. I might have teared up a little bit. It was an incredible story, incredible opportunity that we had to be blessed with to hear their story and this process of Rebelle, their process of reacclimation to civilian life after years of service in the military, the stories of awareness for PTSD. When you mentioned this at the opening of the episode, when Sue came to us with this story, every little bit of the detail she kept sharing, we kept saying yes. A little harder and a little louder too, because this is, oh my goodness, right along in the vein of what we love to hear and what we love to experience in this podcast, and really what this podcast has become over the year and a half, almost 2 years that we've been doing this, almost 100 episodes we've been doing this, and it gets better and better every time. I love it. Yeah. Absolutely love it.
So again, this started out as a conversation between you and I, more or less. You said it in the interview, just to vent to somebody about car things, to someone who would listen and be able to respond accordingly. And it has turned into something so much more. The awesome people we get to meet through the wonders of podcasting, the stories we get to share with the world are just amazing. I'm looking forward to more and more of this. The podcast is just one of the things we do, but it is so profound in its impact on our lives that it shall not be forgotten.
Yeah.
So we keep pushing on and finding new, interesting people to talk to, and so grateful for Mason and Aaron for coming on and just sharing with us this week. It's a little bit of a teaser because looking forward to next week, we're talking to Team Volkswagen.
That's right.
So if you
had to rope me into another EV conversation,
I know,
didn't you?
I know, I did. So we'll just leave next week's teaser at that.
Okay.
Because I'm very excited for this. Again, just the people we get to meet through what we do. Amazing. And we're very much looking forward to sitting down with Team VW and talking about their experience and everything they've gotten to do. So if you haven't already subscribed to this podcast, hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you are listening on, because it gets good. It stays good. The stories we get to share, go back and binge if this is your first one, because we've got some amazing interviews with some amazing people, and don't even ask me to rank them. But if you would, go and find us on social media at GT Garage Talk on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube.
All the places.
And until next time, bye.